FinTech is an exciting space. Whether or not you have a financial or technical background, it's very easy to see the innovation that's happening, right? It's bringing security, transparency, and speed to transactions, increased access to financial services to the underserved, unbundling services and creating new ones and new markets, to seeing the real impacts and capabilities of crypto. So we've really only seen the start of what FinTech could do. And it's as good a time as ever. You're in the right place to dive in, learn more, and see if this is something you want to break into.
For me, I'm always itching kind of for that challenge. And I think that's what really drove me to think, okay, what is next here? Like, I have two paths. One is to continue down this route of staying in banking, maybe switching a role at the bank I'm at, or moving into a different bank and taking on a new challenge there. Or, really pushing the envelope. And as I was seeing blockchain technology and crypto back in 2016, 2017 start to kind of, come a bit more to the forefront and come to fruition a bit, that was super interesting for me. And I think what the safety net was there when I decided to make the leap of faith was I met people that came from the same industry I was in, to make a move into a very risky industry and be part of a startup that had less than 20 people. But the security in it for me was the mindset those people had, all leaving Macquarie, UBS, Ernst & Young, these types of organizations to come and build something in a new industry. So I had some, in my mind, sense of consistency to be able to make that leap into something that might be more volatile.
What's been the most interesting thing or exciting thing that you've been working on? And perhaps a second piece of that is what's been most surprising to you about FinTech, or, feel free to be as honest as you like, what's been challenging to you, but really, about this experience, what's been new to you?
I think the very interesting part for me will be transition how banks and digital banking solutions understand what the banking is and how they start building, integrating the value-added services so that we don't let, so what small business need, they don't want to think, they need technologies to think on their behalf, and how we're going to use data in order to service them and offer them actionable insights, right? So that they don't have to think where their funds are coming from. They don't need to think how they pay money. They don't need to think how to make receive the payments in real time, or pay employees or other suppliers in real time as well. So those are some of the items. So I really want to see those technologies and FinTech integrated into online banking solutions. What still surprises me is what's the volume of payments done by checks. So I'm coming from the country where we totally skipped, I don't even remember checks, right? And we totally skipped that part of banking. But because US has a much longer history of doing banking, obviously checks are there. And I think there's two things: trust, right? Trust of technology, which is coming and growing up, especially after COVID times. But what surprises me is that, I think before COVID, at least 60% of B2B payments for small businesses, especially, were done by checks. So that's a huge opportunity for us to digitalize that side of technology, build the technology in that space.
I tend to work with several larger corporations as well, several bigger banks or several big processors. When you work with them, and they are paying you millions of dollars to solve whatever problem XYZ that they have, but when you work with them, you sometimes feel like, man, they do not want their problems to be solved. There's a lot of internal red taping. Everything is so siloed, and you have to have the same conversation with 10 different people. And even then, at the end of the day, you feel like, I did not make any progress today. So that can be very challenging, but the trick is to have the right approach and know your audience, and also keeping at it, staying at it. So you approach a meeting, or you approach your C-level clients with the right, accurate, and this very, insightful data set, and you keep pushing your agenda, albeit in a respectful, you stay calm and stay respectful, but you keep pushing your agenda, and you're always working on a timeline. So you have a project that's going to end in 6 months, but for 3 months you're having just internal conversations, things are not moving forward. So I think that's very challenging, especially with like bigger companies. It's not like they don't want their problems solved. It's just that they're not as fast paced or as integrated as some of the startups or the fintechs or the younger companies. And there are like several reasons for that. Bigger banks or bigger organizations also have a lot of other things. They also have a lot of rules that they need to follow. There's a lot of regulations that they need to keep in mind. Legal can be a big challenge for them as well. So everything moves slowly, but when they do like take your recommendations and implement them, and you actually see them make that change.
I think we're seeing like a big shift in the way that banks are starting to think about what digital assets mean. And I think we've made a few really nice points today around like what economic freedom, means for people, allowing some of these larger financial institutions to be able to give people access to different forms of units of pay, I guess, if you will, like Bitcoin, for example. I think it can open up so many channels for economic freedom.